Welcome to Studio Lake House. My name is Ranjula Manjanayaka, and joining with us here today is a former Minister of Finance, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and a Minister of Power and Energy.
Trade as well.
Mr. Ravi Karnanayaka. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Ranjula.
I'd like to pick your brain and understand your perspective in terms of the current economic landscape as well as the potential outlook for Sri Lanka.
Okay.
But I feel that we can't go there without looking back a little bit. Would you agree with me if I asked you, told you rather, that throughout the past 80 odd years, Sri Lanka economically has been struggling to put the right policy on the map?
Absolutely right, Ranjula. If I may start from the independence,
Yes.
it's 78 years to date.
Yes.
If you look at the policy that adopted, we have 42 finance ministers for these 78 years. If you look at the education, we have 32. So you see there's no continuity in policies. So just as you said, we struggle to make policies that are meant to be carried forward.
As you rightfully said, we had multiple eras. We had the 50s, 60s and the 70s came along. We closed down, reopened up. What did we get right and what did we get wrong? Let's focus on the rights as well, if possible, if there's anything.
Sure. My feeling is that we inherited independence too easily. And as a result, we have not sweated and toiled to obtain. So we don't know the value of getting it. On the other side, we are a complacent nature country, in the sense anything goes down. Our people are structured to such that they feel getting something for nothing is better than working to get that thing.
Do you feel like the policy from the inception may be put across the steps for this?
Well, I take the British rule that we had, the British rules, or previous to that, the Portuguese, the Dutch, they had a divide and rule policy.
Yes.
And I think that is still affecting us. In the sense, they divided and rule means that they made some lot work for it, others get it. So you brought in layers of lethargy in the system. We have not come out of that as yet.
Basically, we couldn't unite 78 years later. We couldn't still unite as a country.
Absolutely.
If
I may say, our social fabric is made up of Sinhalese, the Tamils, the Muslims, the Burghers, Malays. But the industriousness of the Tamils, the large-heartedness of the Sinhalese, and the business acumen of the Muslims, all put together, we have not brought that country together.
100%. In the economy, what should we really focus on? First of all, where are we right now? And where should we focus?
We are having an economy that is made to survive, not to grow.
Okay.
The main problem that is there is that we don't have a focus on where we need to go. We are just drifting towards on a year-on basis. Instead of leading a destination, we have no destination.
Then if I asked you, where should we go?
We should basically have an approach, because we have all the natural resources that are there. We have a very large neighbor who is a mighty giant on the move.
100%.
We should leverage our geographical location to ensure that we are friends with all, enemies with none, and get that economic prosperity to move forward. We should move away from transfers to households to work to obtain that.
Why couldn't we do that? I mean, you were in office for 30 odd years?
Well, I was in office, at least our party has been in office for 40 odd years.
Yeah.
But the problem is when one is proposed, other oppose. Now the proposed and opposing governments also now out of power, and now the present government was opposing both, but they're doing the same thing. So at the end of the day, the culture has not changed from what it is. We need deep-rooted political will to change.
In that sort of spectrum, how should the fiscal and the monetary, in an economic sense, should align in order to achieve this target?
That's a very
goal?
good question, Anjula. In any country where the system functions is a supply side development oriented economy,
Okay.
where the fiscal balances with monetary makes it a spark and that surge gets the economy moving. Unfortunately, here we have a tail wagging the dog. Why do I say so? Today we have given independence to a central bank, which has been the problem or the bane of our society. I don't mean in any disrespect, but I got to call a spade a spade. When basically they are supposed to get the economy ignited, they basically have an anti-inflationary approach which contracts the economy.
Isn't the macroprudential stability what Sri Lanka needs right now, at least in a base level?
Well, from the time that the central bank declared bankruptcy in 22 April 12th, they have had 7 quarters of deflation. Is the basic cost of living reduced? Because the main 2 aspects of the central bank is to ensure inflation control and economy which is maintained.
Isn't that angle and the approach that we're looking at it is a little wrong in the sense that the deflationary 15-month period wasn't it mainly due to a domestic demand issue that that carried on from 2022 because we know the shocks of economic impacts?
If you say that it was a demand-driven inflation, what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
But today inflation is cost push because of your import inflation. Now, basically, they were reporting till February 1% inflation, 6 quarters of deflation, etc. So where is your demand pull?
Yeah.
You basically have an imported inflation which is thrusted into a local economy, and then you have inflation that is going on because they say inflation, the rapidity of the inflationary tendency. Now, where is it? You have oil going up, electricity going up, and then you have inflation that is cost push. That is why I say the main thing in the central bank independence is controlling the economy through anti-inflationary approach is not the answer.
2 arguments. One is that, okay, you're saying that the central bank shouldn't be independent, there should be a political involvement to match that expectation.
I don't say that.
No, okay.
No.
Then what
that's a wrong inference.
Okay.
My saying is the central bank, they should be holding in a developing country like Sri Lanka. If by chance, I'm giving you a good classical example. Now you have a country that is, you had a government change. Election was the people voted for Anurag Dissanayake. He is the president. Then he appoints himself as the finance minister. He has given promises to the country. Now that's why it got him 2/3. Now you have a central bank governor, not elected by the people, appointed by the elected person, people's man. Now Anurag Dissanayake says he wants to give loans to the youth or the women, and I want to give it at 2 to 4%. Central bank governor says, no, I'm sorry, that's an inflationary approach, that is in my hands, monetary is in our hand. I can't agree to that because the elected person gives promises. Now I am saying merge both, where you have the central banks given commitment. There must be a growth-oriented, employment creation, reserve creation, foreign direct investments are local investments to be corrected.
Wouldn't it be a little problematic in the sense, okay, I'm testing out a theory, if I may here, is that, okay, if the government wants to give out a certain loan scheme or whatever they want, they can allocate a budget, let's say 500 million or whatever, agree with the banks, use the banks as the mediators, and then basically disburse it out. Is that not
Ranjulu, you're hitting it right, exactly. Yeah. Now you're basically taking a practical example, but that's not what is happening.
Yes.
Because what they say now is, if you want to give it, then use the fiscal system and basically allocate from the budget and give it to us to give it out. So why do you need a cat's paw to be using in order to get that policy? You might as well have the policies together and have checks and balances that you can't surpass a certain.
The money supply is at a, let's say, a stable position for the long-term view with a governor or whomever the professionals in that system. And then the government, if they want to make short-term bursts and improvements to the system, as it should from time to time, wouldn't the fiscal approach be a better sort of a tool?
But Ranjula, fiscal means your taxes and the necessary tools that you use from a fiscal point of view.
Yes.
Now, I'm talking the monetary aspect, which basically permits you to use the creation. Now, when you say creation of money, it does not mean you print money.
That's right.
You basically give certain areas of fillip or impetus to them to develop that area. You give I'll take an example, the youth. The youth are yearning with ideas and wanting to get involved into the economy. Unfortunately, they don't have the collateral to go forward. Now, you basically say, use this as opportunity, give at 2 to 3%. The reason why today at 15%, you can't compete with the peer countries. I mean, Indians, the Bangladesh, the Maldives are 4 to 6%. When we have 15%, you are a non-starter. So that's where I basically say, now, don't get me wrong. Because during our time, we very successfully managed the economy to move. Mr. Jaya Jayawardena moved 78 in 1978. He got the economy. Today, we are having hydro, we are having ports, we are having housing, we are having the economy in today's context because he drove the economy at supply side development that took place. But today, we are caught up with this notion of an anti-inflationary approach where taking the surplus money is the theory that they use. But today, your inflation is galloping. What have you done different? Now they are independent. Where is the checks and balances? So this is a notion where non-practical, theoretical guys who are in the central bank using jargons, and when they get caught at the moment, they have no other excuse but to basically be silent. Look at the impact they had on the NDB bank. Virtually their banking supervision was so pathetic.
Then what should be the correct sort of the formula be?
My feeling is that independence should be included or added on with the delivery of the growth rate, with the delivery. I'm talking of countries that are moving forward. Bank of Japan. You have the Singapore Monetary Authority. You look at the Bank of England. They have the Monetary Board, Prudential, and the normal legislative process of what has got to be going in the Bank of England. The Federal Reserve of USA. So I'm not just talking isolation of a make-believe world only for this particular one of mine. You bring the growth rate, then you look at the increasing of employment creation, then you look at reserve building. Because you can't tell the government you build reserves and you don't use the monetary system to that benefit as well. So you use both and ensure. Now you can have the secretary to the finance minister in the monetary board without he giving a vote to operate on. You basically get the idea because the government's intention should be created into the monetary board because they are the ones monetarily deciding how to do it. And also, we must ensure that the economy grows, and as a result, if there are inflation tendencies, you must be having the economy growing faster rather than contracting the economy. That is where I'm saying.
Probably an improvement to the central bank's mandate, this could be added on. But wouldn't the Treasury Secretary being in the monetary board, wouldn't there be a control issue since you've been...
No, that has been what has been alluded to the system being a failure.
Yeah.
But surely we have had success for 76 years. Maybe 1 or 2 years we would have had some random attacks that have taken place. But that bad behavior in that 1 or 2 years doesn't mean that the entire 76 years is bad. Now, like 76 years, we have not had any hacking or anything that is on. Now there has been, doesn't mean that the entire system has crash landed.
Why couldn't Sri Lanka become maybe a $10,000 GDP per capita country? Well, we have China who was poorer than us in 60s.
Sure.
Of course, now is an economic superpower.
If I may give 3 examples to that, in Japan, in 48, when you got independence and them, we were having $49 each as per capita. Now in Japan is 65,000, we are 5,000. Then you came to 77 when Jaya opened the open economy. China and Sri Lanka, we were virtually almost the same. Today they have a per capita of about 30,000, we are 5,000. So you could see that our policies are not supported with the working, with the industriousness of the people. Our biggest problem is the culture change in the people of our country.
Okay.
We compare Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia and say how good they are working. But there they work for it. Here we pay to be at home. That is the difference. Today we have 1.5 million government servants.
Yeah.
And what do they basically provide as benefit to the economy? They are part of the strain to the economy. So we must have cost-benefit analysis. We must have value for money audits. These are the things that should be brought in.
The government sector and the need for restructure, maybe. If we focus on the fiscal side of things, right now we know that about 44% of our government income goes to debt financing, and then another around roughly
44%?
Of the expenses.
Yeah.
My bad. And then about another 30% or so goes to government's administrative process. We are left with another 25% odd, right? And Sri Lanka has been entertaining this idea of becoming a developed nation by 2048 with, as you said, supply side development, right? With that kind of a strain, how can Sri Lanka get there?
Alhamdulillah, now this was espoused by Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Okay.
He said in 1948, that is 100 years of independence. That's another maybe 24 years. This is what we should attain. But where is he today? What he said, he took us out of the bankruptcy. He's in opposition because he went that extra leg. There was a government that said, we'll give you womb to the tomb, everything. And today, what is it? You can't get that unless the people also change their political thinking, the culture, the expectation. Now, if you give today an opportunity for the younger generation in our country, I'll give you an opportunity to spend 100,000 and do a job, or give 5,000 and stay at home. They'll opt for the 5,000 to stay at home. But you're at home and do nothing and get 5,000. So that's a big thing. Now, if you try to change that political culture, you get hammered for that change. But people go out of the country and work 18 hours of a day of a 24 and virtually get maybe 20% more, but they're willing to work that extra out of the country. Why not put that effort into the country?
You're saying that's the probable way of coming out of this.
We must know we are in a debt trap. The only way to pay out of our debt is exporting, and more exports.
How do you propose Sri Lanka should manage probably the next 5 years or so? Because we know that next 10 years is critical for us. And then how does the outlook look for us beyond that?
Firstly, we should be in an ocean of prosperity. We are a nation in poverty. So in order to come out of that, we have got to think globally.
Okay.
We think globally and act locally, we are getting into the right direction. Now, why do I say that? Because we basically are too focus internal. We are like frogs in the well approach. So get the younger generation to be task oriented.
Okay.
Think that if you want to improve yourself, that put that extra effort into the country. Then policies must be perdurable, in the sense long term. It is not something for the short term. Be statesman, not to be political. That is where the cutting edge would be. You have got to come out of it by taking hard, harsh, realistic decisions. Now, when we got to pay our debt from 28th March, we must have a reserve of 14,500 reserve. USD billion, 14.5 billion. That means from now onwards, you have to earn $250 million per month in order to achieve to that target. Now, that is withstanding any other global problems that could come up. So if we have got to do that, are we on the right track? We have IMF that is basically saying don't give incentives to get investment. Now that is an absolute blocker. We must be taking that cold decision of giving the benefit and bringing the investment. Either locally encourage it, if not bring the technical, if not bring FDIs with the technical. Get the country moving. We import 1.3 trillion of agricultural related items when we have a fertile soil. We are supposed to be in the past as a place that we were able to collect the best of that agricultural benefit, and we were storing them. Today we are importing everything. Change that, go high tech in agriculture. Look at the low hanging fruits of the tourism, the computer side, the areas of logistics, the blue economy that can be done. So we have the opportunity before us. It's just that we don't have long-term policies which attract investments. The biggest problem that investors have is the change of policies per government.
I'm sorry. Lastly, can you give an idea of such a one actionable item, the utmost?
One action I basically would say is that if you look at the tourism, you basically, that's the area which you have got to get. Now, instead of going on to quantity, we go after quality. In Maldives is there to earn $500-600 a room when we basically struggle to achieve at 75. Now, the policy should be is market Sri Lanka as a whole entity where we have not only the sea, we have the country, the ruined cities that are there, variations in climate, then look at the people who are friendly. You basically have 4 seasons in one country type of cell that is there where you attract, there is like the heaven on earth type of cell. Now, that is not there because our global cell is not there. The industry is not together. Policies keep changing. That is where I say that you have to have the coherency in policy. The tourism is the best example because we have an airport that is not modernized for the last 10 years. Now you have tourism coming in. People are wondering why have you got to be standing 2 hours when it did. Then give a sense visa free on arrival. When I say that, any person can come into the country. Now, that doesn't mean that we give every terrorist person to come. Yeah. But the system in the world, Singapore, 100%. Is visa on arrival. Now, that doesn't mean you don't check who the character is. But whatever Singapore can check, we also can check. So, give visa on arrival. Then, anybody feels, people in India will say, okay, let's go for the weekend to Sri Lanka. Now, that is, you had Jaishankar, Foreign Minister of India, saying Sri Lanka is the best second home to India. Now, that alone is a sell. You have 1.5 million tourists there. Get that coming. That is what I say, strategic thinking and national thinking.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you for that valuable input and your valuable time as well.
Thank you.
See you around.
Okay, all the best.